Welcome back to the Merriment Making Podcast. I'm your host, Mary, Uncustomary England, and today we're going to talk about how to have fun while you wait. You know that place where nothing is quite happening yet, but something is about to, when that beige Tuesday is melting time into custard, and that DMV line has numbers blinking, but it feels like they're never moving towards your number, or an awkward waiting room before therapy, or a drive home after something ends, or just a job, relationship, a haircut that felt like a personality swap. Welcome to the in-between, the hallway between then and the next, and today we're gonna find happiness in that hallway. Liminal spaces are uncomfortable because they're not really designed for us doing anything. They are made for us to become something, and the act of becoming can feel itchy and uncomfortable. Some liminal spaces are literal: the DMV, airport security, a pharmacy line, school hallways after hours, parking garages at dusk. Some are theoretical: waiting for test results, waiting for paperwork, waiting for an apology that you might never get, or the "are we still friends" after a big change. Some are anticipatory: that 5 minutes before your name is called, the 2 weeks until an email arrives. So here's what I'm hoping to do today. The in-between doesn't have to be dead air. I want you to understand that we can tend to it and we can make it feel alive. Liminal spaces are thresholds. It's a pause between breaths. It's a door frame, and our brains love certainty. Liminal spaces offer no certainty, so our nervous system scans for threats. Is something wrong? Should I run? Should I scroll? What is that? Put that down. So here's this reframe that I want to offer you. What if this waiting period is fertile? What if the pause is a studio where you and your life are like catching up? Happiness can actually hide in pauses, like laughter in an elevator that's stalled. I also just want to note this cultural aspect. Gen Z has lived in state of constant flux. They grew up in a pivotal age point with the pandemic, remote everything, digital everything, climate anxiety, short nostalgia cycles online. Their nostalgia often gets remixed before it can even be missed. And that fast churn can make slow, uncanny, liminal feelings feel foreign or even threatening. Gen X and millennials lived big before and after lines. We experienced analog to digital, malls buzzing to malls abandoned. So many of us learned to hold and understand the sweetness and the ache simultaneously. We can see an empty food court and feel both home and hollow. Two truths in the same photo. Nobody is wrong, it's just this different emotional training. And this doesn't also need to exclusively apply to Gen Z, it's just for anybody who has ever kind of sat in an empty hallway with their heart in their throat. What your body is doing when a space is familiar but empty, or a moment is open-ended, your nervous system is labeling it as uncertain. And we know that uncertain feels unsafe. So that's why it's spooky or stale or endless. It's not just like boredom, it's a subtle uncanniness. It's familiar but missing context. It's deja vu but disordered. And the fear under the fear, let's talk about this. What are we actually scared of in liminal spaces that maybe we're not actually able to name? I think there's a lot of things potentially to unpack here. Maybe what we're really scared of when we see a photo of a liminal space, or we're in a space that is liminal, theoretically or literal, maybe we're scared of loss, like something I love could be taken from me. Again, we're scared of feeling powerless. I can't make time move. We're scared of our identity moving, shifting, drifting. Who am I if this ends or this starts? We're scared of judgment. If I slow down here, am I failing? We're so addicted and pressured by hustling and productivity. We're also scared of finality. So what if the answer is no and the door shuts? We are scared of our own mortality also. So if you can kind of figure out which or any of these is hiding beneath this fear, this anxiety of liminal spaces, naming the fear gives it its edges, and edges make it holdable. It gives it tangibility, and then there's something to work with. Once I started getting these thunderclap migraines, and I saw a doctor, and my regular doctor who I loved wasn't there. So an older doctor filled in, and he looked at me and very bluntly said, well, you probably have a brain aneurysm. He sent me for an MRI, and I couldn't sleep for 2 weeks. My brain went into a very dark hallway all at once. I was like, oh my God, well, if it's my brain, I'm going to have a tumor. I'm going to lose my speech. I'm going to lose myself. I'm going to lose all of my faculties. And waiting for those results trained me for future medical issues that I ended up having that I didn't even know were coming. During that experience, which I ended up not having a brain aneurysm, he was not a great doctor and ended up actually being forced to retire a month later. I asked people on the internet, have you ever had something like this happen? Not a bad doctor like this necessarily, but being in a space of waiting for medical results to come in. How did you survive during this wait? And I actually got a lot of responses that I meant to turn into a podcast and didn't. So I'm going to use some of the answers here today. Allison told me about how she was dismissed and then believed and then left to wait for these benign results that took almost a month to arrive. She said, give us the direct line to the results. Explain what the results mean. Don't say you're too young to be sick. Listen, offer cat photos. Be honest if you don't know. Katie, a nurse and a mom, learned mid-pregnancy that her baby had a cleft lip and palate and could have other syndromes. She chose to learn everything she could, and what calmed her most was information and someone who was willing to offer grounded hope. Not false promises, just the real odds plainly. Julia had a really painful biopsy and she wanted practical prep, a ride home, and for people to stop leaving these vague, call us back messages. She said, don't ask for news, she'll tell you when there's news, right? And Amy waited on a home repair verdict that spiraled into finances and old instability. She made lists, named her support team, and reminded me that waiting isn't only medical. The body hears all sorts of limbos. From all of this, I hear and learned that waiting is invasive. It leaks into work and chores, conversations, dreams. So we need anchors, not platitudes. And mostly what I'm also hearing from all of this is we want information. We want the actual details. We don't really want to be left out in the cold. We don't really want to be avoidant. We want the details so that we can plan. So if you're waiting for bad news, stop orbiting dread as a fog. Walk into the worst case room and turn the light on. When I had a really bad landlord situation, it went completely feral and a move out date was looming. I thought that we were legitimately going to be homeless. I could not find a new place to live. I was waking up every single day with this feeling of overwhelm, stress, and complete dread. I was doing work and looking for places every single day, but I couldn't get rid of this stressful feeling. And then one day I finally just asked, okay, well, what actually happens if we miss the date? What happens if on the end of the month we have not moved out yet? So I looked up the process and the notices and the timeline and the legalities, and the reality wasn't great, but it was graspable. It had edges. I realized that technically they couldn't evict us. There was a process, and while it would kind of wreck our future renters' look look for future landlords, we wouldn't be homeless. And that gave me the ability to have space. I could sort my priorities. I could make an order of things. I could choose penalties that I could survive, and I could breathe. I want you to be able to actually pull back the curtain and look into the worst case scenario and be able to say, okay, well, if this happens, then what am I going to do? When I had the fear of having a brain aneurysm, I asked myself, what is my deepest fear with this? And it was literally losing my mind. And that truth allowed me to figure out what my priorities were. If I feared losing my mental capacity, I wanted to be able to use my mind now. I wanted to make and write and say and record and play all the things that I wanted to do and be present as long as I possibly could, which kind of rearranged my priorities. So the fear became a compass instead of a pit. I want you to be able to do this. Allowing yourself to look at the worst case scenario isn't really doom scrolling, so to speak. It allows you to create more agency. You will have a plan, and if you need to use it, you can. And if not, you'll have perspective. Also, just a little bit of a tip if you're in public in a literal liminal space, in lines where, you'll see people starting to complain and talk crap. I choose to opt out. One time I was at a bank on a Friday. There was a really long line and everyone was complaining. There was only one teller and the other one was out at lunch. And that was just what was happening, Everyone was complaining and they were directing their complaints very vocally to the teller. And it was just so unnecessary. When it was my turn to get up to the teller, I told her, you are doing a great job. Don't let any of their passive-aggressive comments get to you. And I gave her a sticker and she smiled like the sun came back to her face. And, having little tools like that in your bag, a sticker or something, can really be helpful. But even if I had just said it, it would have been good enough. Don't participate in the grumbling and the complaining when you're in a liminal space. It only brings you down and participates in the amplification of negativity. Liminal joy can be a sentence and a sticker. So here are some ideas that you can do if you are in a liminal space. You can try micro missions in public. You can bring tiny stacks of kindness notes with you and leave things on waiting room chairs that say things like, you're not alone in the hallway, love a stranger. You can compliment a very specific detail on a stranger, like your earrings look like party confetti. You can start giving out stickers. Having things kind of planned and bringing them with you is a really wonderful way to pass the time and to contribute to the greater good. On a personal level, I think it's helpful to have sensory anchors. You can carry a little talisman with you, something that when you touch it, it makes you feel grounded, maybe a stone or a textured ribbon, something that you smell, a fidget tool, anything like that. You can also do mindfulness exercises wherever you are, grounding yourself. You can look for a specific color in the room. You can do the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, where you can look for 5 things. You can smell 3 things. You can hear 4 things, use your senses. And you can also just kind of feel your feet on the floor and breathe. I definitely also recommend having your own music as much as you possibly can. One of the things I think that creates anxiety in liminal spaces is the potential silence or the overwhelming aspect of audio. So having earplugs and or headphones can really help you to create your own soundtrack. You can pick songs that are helpful for you in specific environments, have playlists for leaving therapy or ending a workday, driving home after an ending, anything like that. And you can play it like it's a rite of passage. You can also prep conversation topics for things that aren't small talk, anything that isn't about the weather, things that are real and playful. I have a whole list of 50 things that are not about the weather that I will include in the replay bonus section inside the Positive Pulse, but here are 2 ideas. What's the most rebellious thing you did as a teen just to be rebellious? Or if you had to pick a different major now, what would you study? And if you're in a logistical, real liminal waiting space, try to not use your phone. Again, pack things that can amuse your brain. Crosswords, washi tape, index cards, gel pens, doodling supplies. Also, if you're in traffic, you can try brainstorming names for future pets, voice recording a note to a friend, saying an affirmation out loud that doesn't make you cringe. I actually have a full list of 50 additional ways to keep yourself occupied in traffic that I will also include in the bonus section of the replay inside of the Positive Pulse. And remember, again, with spreading joy, if you're stuck with 12 strangers, that's 12 possible joy transmissions. Count them like sparkles: one compliment, one sticker, one smile, one helpful door hold. And you can log it later on the 11K Acts website if you want at uncustomary.org/11K. Or don't, but just know that that moment counted. Remember that you can't control the room, but you can control yourself and the things that you bring with you. Dress fun, pack supplies, prepare topics, do your 10 minutes of a Merriment morning ritual. There's a very simple 10-minute ritual that's ready for you for free inside of the Positive Pulse, and just bring the party to the pause. Now, let's talk about the fear room. If you want to, and you can, close your eyes, and I just want you to remember what we talked about with the fear that lives under the liminal space. What was the fear that you named under the fear? You can say it out loud if you're alone. You can whisper it to yourself. I'm scared they'll say the word. I'm scared I'll lose what I love. I'm scared I'll have to become someone else. And now answer this. If that were to happen, what would the first practical step be? And then what would the next thing be? And then the next. What would your first 3 practical steps be in that, quote, worst case scenario? Write them down, say them, and understand and remember and know that you are not powerless in this hypothetical hallway. Breathe, sip some water, touch your anchor, look for one strange, fun, weird, kind detail in the room. Say thank you for this pause, even if it's through gritted teeth. This week, in any waiting space, give one person, especially including yourself, something to smile about. A note, a sticker, a real question, a song cue at a red light. Tag me if you share a photo of your liminal joy in the hallway or a parking lot or the line with a tiny party in it. And also, I just want to let you know that when I started the Positive Pulse, I wanted to create a bright corner on the internet where creating happiness habits wasn't a concept, it was a practice. And over the past 6 months, almost 1,000 of you have shown up and shared and created magic, and I am so proud of us. And it also costs more than love to keep the lights on. From platform fees and software and hosting and daily labor, it lands around $600 a month before my time to keep this going. So to keep the Positive Pulse sustainable, I am introducing Merriment Dues of just 89 cents a month. So how this works is if you're already a member, you have until November 21st to upgrade. If you're a new member, the paid change starts November 1st. Everyone gets a free 7-day trial when you're upgrading, which means that you have 7 days before you're actually charged. Your 89-cent month rate is locked in for life unless you cancel. And if you upgrade before November 11th, you'll get a special workbook on embodiment and how to reconnect to your body. It's over 30 pages long. You'll also receive a Joy Scout special badge. And don't worry, because there will still be a free section with a handful of evergreen resources if upgrading isn't possible for you right now. I want to think about it as like Girl Scout troop dues that I paid when I was a kid. These are just tiny contributions that let us build something beautiful together. And if this space has ever made you feel seen or comforted or more alive, your 89 cents helps someone else feel that too. So I want to thank you for helping this joy engine keep running. Happiness doesn't need perfect timing. It grows in cracks, sometimes out of cracks. You don't have to rush in the hallway. You can dance there, hum in it, and hand someone something special. You have to feel good to do good, and sometimes feeling good can start in the strangest rooms. I'll see you in the in-between, and hopefully also in the positive pulse at uncustomary.org/pp.